Hell y'all, this is Kaiser Redux, a Hearts of Iron 4 mod that acts as an unofficial standalone expansion for the Kaiserreich mod, a mod set in a world where the Central Powers won World War I. With that out of the way, this video is going to act as a part 1 of a Union of Britain Kaiser Wilhelm playthrough series. If you're confused by what I just said, you'll find out what I mean pretty soon in the near future. Here's a brief history on the Union of Britain as a country. After 1921's Peace with Honor ended the Weltkrieg, which is this world's World War I, the faith and support of the people in the home islands had disappeared. In 1925, disaster struck. A minor labor dispute quickly escalated into a general strike called by the TUC, followed by military desertions to the strikers. After 6 weeks of rioting on a massive scale, the royal family and most of the country's elites were evacuated to Canada, and instead a new Congress of Trade Unions assumed political authority. The British people are currently content to build socialism in isolation, yet many are starting to think the monarchists in Canada cannot be allowed to plot against a union indefinitely. We have started, and let's go to our national overview. We have two national spirits, and they are militias and desire for revenge. And the ruling ideology of the country is syndicalist, so the Union of Britain at this time is guided by syndicalism. And the country is led by Philip Snowden, and he is just going to be a leader for now. We're going to eventually replace him with someone else. We have some research slots here, 4 of them. Let's make good use of these research slots. Machine tools, construction 1. Okay, we already have electronic mechanical engineering. Go for mechanical computing and radio. Get radio done as well. So there we are. Free military factories. Make some more guns, I suppose. Yeah, we'll just do that maybe. Yeah, let's go ahead and start doing that then. A lot of stuff we got to do as the Union of Britain off the right out the gate, and get some more civilian factories constructed in the country. National focus not set. Let's do 1936, Congress of the Trade Unions, and that focus is important for, it starts an event chain that will help decide who will lead the country in the near future. And now let's get our divisions under the controlled one commander. Who do we have here? Let's look around. Let's get into Percy Hobart and get a marshal maybe? A marshal, do we have a marshal? Any marshals at all? We have no marshals. Oh, we do. Never mind. What am I doing? I looked in the wrong places. Bill Alexander, please, you lead them then. Free dockyards, build more submarines. And speaking of dockyards, we have a huge navy. We have the Welsh fleet. We have the, who else? The Welsh fleet. The submarine fleet, 100 submarines. Channel fleet. Let's just merge all these together. Get the Welsh fleet, the submarine fleet, and the North Sea fleet. Create one big def stack. No divisions and basic training. Let's start recruiting infantry divisions then, or maybe no. Get us some infantry divisions with artillery. That would be optimal for now. Close artillery. Infantry divisions with artillery are always good. How we're doing with logistics, equipment, we should be good in the long term, I would think. Let's just recruit one division for now. Just train one of them. And at this point, outdated equipment in production. Some older class submarine. Well, cruiser actually, the Measureless class. I don't think we're going to make any more of them once they're created, so we're not going to be too worried about those being made. What else do we need to do? Outdated equipment in production, ignore that. Decisions available, whatever. Insufficient resources, what can we do about this? Tungsten, we need rubber. Dutch East Indies, thank you. Chromium, Ottoman Empire, thank you. So that's 2 civilian factories being used for trade purposes, no template for some stuff we're making, whatever, it's fine. We'll find some use for it in the near future. And a new Britain. After the defeat of Britain, the United Kingdom's war, after the defeat of France, the United Kingdom's war with Germany dragged on inconclusively for 2 years. In 1921, the stalemate was finally broken when Lloyd George agreed to the German proposal of a peace with honor. While Britain's overseas territories remained largely intact, the faith of the people did not, and disaster struck in 1925. Comrade Mosley calls a meeting. Alright then, I'm not too concerned about reading the history of the Union of Britain, but all I can say is World War I went on longer than expected, and people weren't happy about that. So in the lore, they essentially revolted against the elite, well, the existing government's control, and that led to the Union of Britain, which is part of the Third Internationale, alongside the Commune of France. And the Totalist Charter has been signed, something about Oswald Mosley doing something there, and Edward VIII has been crowned the King of Great Britain, and that is in opposition to the fact he doesn't actually control Britain at all. He's just stuck in Canada. The royal family, what was the royal family of the UK, they're just stuck in Canada for now. And that's all they're doing at this time. They lead the Entente faction, which is an enemy. They're an enemy of us, because we do not want the current ruling party of the Union of Britain does not want the monarchy back. And Afghanistan declared war on the Union of Delhi. We can get an operative also. We do have a recruitment intelligence agency. From the start, we have the Revolutionary Exportation Directory, so the export revolution. The Great Berlin stock market crash has occurred. Alright, Black Monday. That's bad for the Reichspakt and any countries associated with it. It's a stock market crash, electoral gridlock. And France, and they have, who's leading them right now? Leon Joux is at this moment. Poland declares the Republic. And besides the Third Internationale, consisting of the Commune of France and the Union of Britain, there is also the Socialist Republic of Italy. The 1936 Trade Union Council begins. Let the council begin. And ultimately, we do want Oswald Mosley to emerge victorious here, but we got to make sure we choose all the right event decisions, like just make the right choices, essentially. I think so, anyway. There's some fighting in China, Icelandic independence, no surprise there. So they're breaking off from Denmark, they're going their own way. Denmark still they still have Greenland though, so it's not too bad for Denmark, even though they lost Iceland. They lost their puppet state, I think they were. Free dockyards, let's put some on some of these ships we need to build at a quicker rate. Why are we trying to make so many aircraft carriers? Economic policy vote. Who do we go for here? We need to go with Mosley. Where's he? He is aligned with the Totalists. Okay, we need Oswald Mosley's party to win. Economic policy vote. Make sure Totalists emerge victorious in the Trade Union Congress, because we need that for the path we're going down, the Union of Britain. He's a very important figure we need to have in charge. Democratic coalition is established in Mexico. Alright, and that is a lot of divisions the Commune of France. The Commune of France has on the border with the countries of the Reichspakt, the German Empire, and Flanders Wallonia. That is for certain. I mean, they're like their mortal enemy, I suppose. They're not too concerned about the Italian Federation, though. Sigmund's coup in White Ruthenia. Absolutist coup in White Ruthenia. Okay, that's taking place. Internal policy vote. I'm not even going to read the differences between all these. All I know is we need a maximalist. I think that's what they're called. The maximist. The maximist to be the chosen choice here, because Totalism and Oswald Mosley. There we are. Go with what he would prefer, his party would prefer. And White Ruthenia now has a bunch of demilitarized zones, it looks like, because of the coup. Are they still part of the Reichspakt? I wonder. They are. Yes. Modify Officer Corps. I'm not going to mess with this for now. Just not going to do it at this time. And how's our division training going? We need to make more divisions. Yeah, let's make some more divisions. We have enough guns. Do we have any tanks? I mean, we have the Krivich Pucht. That is in somewhere. And what is this about? Military policy vote. Let's go with the Totalist option, the Maximist option. This is about, White Ruthenia. Okay. Do we have any tank production at this time? I don't think we do. We have a template for it already, but I don't think we have any tanks. No. Okay, let's not worry about tanks then. Just recruit more infantry. That works for me. Also get some more Home Guard to get them set up here. And their current job is to just guard our ports. Logistics, we're still doing fine. We're in the positive for equipment. No deficits there. Departure of the revolutionary. The resignation of Philip Snowden has occurred. Our starting leader is going to be gone. And something about the departure of the Revolutionary Latvian Legion. Let's split up our forces in the two armies at this point. One's going to be a garrison force, and the other one's just going to be a standard army. we're just going to use the militia for garrison duty. So get the, how to say, let me find a commander here. We have some commanders from the Red Army, I think. They lost the Russian Civil War in this timeline. But let's get Fred Copeman to be the leader of the garrison army in the Union of Britain. Get him set up here. Just guard all the ports in the country. That's all you got to do with the home guard. All you need to do. The home guard is really going to just be the home guard. Just guard the ports. All you need to do. Scapa Flow. That's all done now. Okay, so we need at least a minimum of 15 divisions. So give him some troops now. And I don't know how many standard infantry divisions we'll have after we split up our forces like this in the main army. Army 1, I mean. So Army 2 will just be militia, home guard units. And we have more militia than we have standard infantry divisions. Not too surprising, though. But at least we'll have some protection in the many ports of Britain at this point. And let's merge together our fleets. We moved into one port earlier. And now let's give them a commander. And Qing has been defeated. Richard Cayley. Yeah, he can lead them. Richard Cayley here. That's done. First International Congress. That's going on. And I wonder, speaking of Congress, okay, the 1936 Congress of the Trade Unions is nearly done. The Maximists secured a majority. And now Oswald Mosley is in charge of Britain. Iceland leaves Middle Europa. Not sure why we got an event about that, but that happens. And yeah, the Congress is nearly done. Just waiting for it to end. We're going to get an event pretty soon. We need to keep a close eye on. I'm just waiting to get it. The Third Internationale. Some meeting for our faction is taking place. Our first new infantry division is here. The PSR wins the Russian Revolution. All the delegates have arrived. This is the Congress of the Third Internationale. I'm not really paying close attention to that, but it is going on. Syndicalism in Spain. Okay, how's our logistics doing? We're doing fine with equipment right now. William Big Bill Haywood and the combined syndicates, unemployment and radicalism in Latin America. Just stuff relating to the Third Internationale. And syndicalism, socialism, totalism, and all that worldwide. The Bharatiya Commune asks for support. Sure. 1936, Congress of the Trade Unions is done. Now, okay, yeah, give them an opportunity. We can't waste our resources. Sorry, Bharatiya Commune. National focus not set. Let's complete. What can we do here? What can we do? Britain within the international. We'll do that for now. Unassigned divisions, more infantry. Oh, these are militia. End of the first Congress. Okay, give them the Army 2. Then, okay, so that's taking place now. We have our militia moving into their positions. Let's research Concentrated Industry 1, because I don't think we're going to be under threat from any kind of aerial bombings anytime soon. And the Austrian Empire is attacking the Italian Federation. Wow, that's pretty aggressive, not going to lie. Very, very aggressive. I think the Austrian Empire will ultimately win out there, but it just, wow. They have their entire faction on their side. After we do Britain within the international, I'm not sure what focus I'll do next. Maybe, okay, we got to do Maximist Defense Force. We'll just do that. Get that done. And go back to Italy. Oh, wow, they're advancing pretty fast. Malta joined the Third Internationale. They declared independence from the German faction. Radio has been researched. Okay. Let's get ourselves, what can we get? Support equipment, Vickers MG and Stokes mortar. Alright then. Italy, the Italian Federation is really going to have to fight hard to survive their conflict, won't they? And at this point, we need to get Britain within the international done, and I suppose we'll do the focus, this one here, that we can only do because of Oswald Mosley coming to power. We'll do Maximist Defense Force, and we'll get some event by doing this. That's going to be done now. Okay. The Maximist Defense Force will give us an event and a national spirit. The event is called the March of the Biff Boys. Very interesting name there. I wonder who the Biff Boys are. Let's get these militias spread out now. And let's stop the fall of the Kingdom of Finland, like sun over China. Okay, let's stop recruiting as many militia. Just focus, we'll stop training as many militia. Just focus on recruiting standard infantry at this point. Can we give these guys another template? I mean, more artillery. There we are, more. They now have an artillery battalion in their unit. We now probably need to manufacture more artillery. Yes, we do. I'm not surprised by that. whatsoever. Take a couple factories off of infantry equipment and just put it on artillery for now, because there's just a demand for it because of our military reform, slight military reform anyway. Monarchy restored in Greece. Let's do excavation 1, get that started. Modify government, what can we do? Volunteer only. Let's go up to limited conscription. There's no negative effects from doing so, it just gives us more manpower. And speaking of manpower, we are over 1 million manpower at this point, and that's great. But we don't exactly have the biggest manpower pool in the entire world. And the Italian Federation is holding out in Rome, it looks like, but not for much longer. They're still holding out in the western part of the Italian Federation at this moment. Not sure how long that will last. March of the Biff Boys, okay. And now in the focus tree, let's go ahead and do, what can we do? Do United Britain. That's going to be started. Modify government. What can we modify even? Military staff. Get a chief of staff. Get Percy Hobart, who will give our armored divisions more. No, I don't want to do that. Let's go with maybe Republic of Cuba. Join some factions. School of Maneuver. We have 2 guys that do the same thing. What? Whatever. School of Mass Combat. Always a big fan of mass combat in Hearts of Iron 4. What's this about? Oh, the Flagshtar International Research Organization. Okay, a matter of urgency. What's this about? The Revolutionary Police, much like their prior counterparts, are inefficient when it comes to properly tackling threats. It is due to this factor that Mosley was persuaded by his comrades to provide full immunity and power to the MDF. Although not exactly legal, few are in a position to question Mosley's actions. The MDF had been given permission to investigate unions suspected of disloyalty in order to better secure the country from Mosley and to make sure no traitors are in our midst. Whilst on one routine inspection inside Union headquarters, an MDF detachment under leadership of Comrade Ted Lewis discovered plans for an organized protest to take place directly in front of Mosley's planned speech at Cable Street. The documents included a list of notable Union leaders and politicians who had associated with the planned protest, though it is curious as to why such an important document would be found so easily. Planted evidence, perhaps. Anyway, regardless, these inspections are secretive and unknown to Union leaders. If such a protest were to take place, it could have drastic consequences on the Maximus' perceived power and popularity. Many, including Comrade Lewis, have suggested raiding the homes of those detailed on the list. This could be effective in putting down this opposition, however, and forcing the police to exercise such a controversial operation, along with blatantly going against Mosley's stated commitments to freedom and democracy, could have even worse consequences. And let's choose to but don't execute the operation, just ignore it for now. So ignore that anti-Mosley activity. I reckon unassigned divisions here, get them to our army, the First Army. Mau Mau, the Jackals of Kenya, some book event essentially. There we are. Now we have 10 divisions in our main army. Oh, we even had a militia unit. I forgot to move around. That is done now. They're going to be heading off to go defend. Where are they at? Oh, the Cornwall Home Guard are in Cornwall. That's fitting. Reports of anti-Mosley activity. And what's this about? Ever since Oswald Mosley's ascension to the role of chairman of the TUC, the zealous Firebrand has managed to rouse both widespread adoration from some and deep disgust within others. Chief amongst his detractors have been the numerous camps of conservative generals and officers that compose much of the Union's old guard. As Mosley pursues his grand ambitions further and further, he has emboldened these foes into what the state has deemed as anti-Mosleyite action. These rabble-rousers will cause detrimental effects to the Mosley regime's stability, and as such, if the new chairman seeks to hold on to his newfound position of power, they will have to be dealt with, one way or another. If Mosley instead chooses to ignore these disgruntled old war dogs, it is almost certain that his administration will be quickly overcome. And let's choose to ignore them. And politics is no place for soldiers. Oswald Mosley will be fine. And there's something about the Battle of Cable Street. Okay. I think that's a reference to some event that happened in real life relating to Oswald Mosley, because in real life he did lead a group of British fascists as a political party. That's historically what Mosley did. Obviously, in Kaiser Redux and Kaiserreich, he's a totalist. The TUC is replaced by the National Council. Okay then, that's some event relating to power consolidation, I believe. Now let's do the focus to Grand Protector. No national focus set. Okay, we're doing the Grand Protector. What am I saying? Free dockyards. Let's build some more ships faster. Let's go ahead and get these outdated vessels done. Well, these just focus on the smaller stuff, then work our way up to building these 3 aircraft carriers. My goodness. How many aircraft carriers do we even have? We have approximately... Oh, great. We have 6 aircraft carriers as a Union of Britain. Wow. That is crazy. That is amazing. Very powerful navy. Perhaps one of the most powerful navies in the world. And the Kingdom of Canada declared war on the South African People's Union. And I think I will say the Rand Rebellion succeeds. Okay, that's in Africa, I think. I think it's fair to say, because usually the Second American Civil War happens and the USA gets disunited, the Union of Britain, next to, say, Japan and Germany, does have probably the most powerful navy in the entire world in this mod. Unassigned divisions, more infantry, get them sent off to Army 1, and how we're doing with logistics. We need more artillery, don't we? Yes, artillery. Let's build more military factories then. Actually, yeah, build some military factories. We need artillery badly for our units. Our divisions just need it because it's used for battalions now, as well as support companies, because we need their oomph, the artillery's sheer power. Grand Protector is nearly done. That will be a couple days though, and that event is done. And we can merge positions of all this. Sure, let's merge the post of Chairman and General Secretary. That is done now, and let's do the focus, Revolution. And it says here, this focus says, this whole reforming the country business has turned out to be very boring. We can attempt one swift strike to totally seize the means of politics and the exchequer's post. Okay, so let's keep Mosley in charge. Just consolidate more power. This whole reforming the country business has turned out to be very boring. We can attempt one swift strike to totally seize the means of politics and make our political programs a reality. This will be risky though. And this, well, the focus here says, attempts to bring order to this country. Attempt to bring order to this country. Our success will depend on how many reforms we have put through already. And I would say our reforms are, I don't know. I guess you could count the reforms. I guess you could count all the times Mosley just gave more power to himself as reforms. They technically are. I suppose. I think they are anyway. And I mean, I hope it doesn't have dire consequences for his totalist government, but we'll find out what happens there. The FOP requests manpower. No, we're not sending you any support. You're on your own down there. I like the Panzer in this picture, though. Very nice. In that event photo. Some new militia are... Yeah, that was a Panther in that event photo. We have some more militia, though. The Yorkshire Home Guard. And the Yorkshire Home Guard are going to be sent off to where? Where are they going? They're going to Dover. That's definitely in Yorkshire, isn't it? Research slot available. Let's start doing... What can we do? Let's do improved machine tools. It is nearly the end of 1936, and that is in 1937 era tech. So it would be a good idea to get that done. Okay. Free dockyards. I guess let's finish working on these measureless class cruisers. They're old anyway. Shouldn't take too long to build them. And we have more... Let's put some more factories off of gun production and more on artillery. At least 5. The Union of Burma joined the Eastern Syndicalist Union. That's in Asia. And the Eastern Syndicalist Union, if I recall, is the Bharatiya Commune. And now Burma. Revolution. Alright, then we have some choices here. It's time to decide who we are. Is this simply a game for rich young boys to play? The colors of the world are changing day by day, and today we have the we maximalists, the totalists of Britain, the Union of Britain under Oswald Mosley, the chairman, the Grand Protector, have the opportunity to do our part. We will have to decide how we want to form this country after our ideas. And let's choose one of three things here. We can choose go to legal way, arrest our enemies, or declare martial law. Let's go with declare martial law. Restorationist counter coup. And let's say, okay, let's read this though. Today, as we try to take over control of the country, what we thought were loyal army elements suddenly turned on us. In the chaos, Mosley had fled, and in the ensuing power vacuum, forces loyal to Percy Hobart, longtime face of reactionary elements within the armed forces, have attempted to usher in a counter-revolution. However, Arthur Horner, who has vowed to restore the supremacy of the TUC, along with militia loyalists, have sprung up against Hobart's units, with Horner and his ragtag band of militiamen being the sole defense the revolution has against Hobart's battle-hardened soldiers. The fate of revolutionary Britain hangs in the balance. And let's say Hobart's soldiers are able to overcome Horner, and the revolution will be put to rest. And now, we are the United Kingdom led by Percy Hobart. And Percy Hobart, historically, he was a British general and military engineer, responsible for many specialized armored vehicles that took part in the invasion of Normandy during World War II. These vehicles were known as Hobart's Funnies. So, say, Shermans with mining flails, Churchill tanks with flamethrowers called crocodiles. He was kind of responsible for those, and those vehicles would basically be the precursor of modern day combat engineering vehicles, essentially. No national focus set, and now we have access to a different part of the tree, I believe, or no. Revolutionary Admiralty. Okay, don't worry about that. But we now have counter-revolution in Britain, and yeah, so Mosley is gone. He's no longer in power anymore. Percy Hobart is here, and he's still a general, but he's just here. What can we do in our focus tree, though? I'm not going to do anything relating to the army just yet. I'm waiting for an event. The junta's next move. It has only been a short time since Hobart and the various reactionary cliques have gathered around his personage, seized power in Britain. In that short time since the coup, the brave men and women of the armed forces have begun restoring a semblance of order, although the new regime is still far from secure. However, the exact brand of order has begun to be instated differs greatly from clique to clique. Quite a few have begun reinstating the king's justice, quotation marks there, bringing back the law and order of the old UK, still in exile in Canada, preparing for the king's return to our fair isles. Others, especially those who press closer to Hobart, simply instate the military order with no other goal than just keeping the streets safe and the factories running. While all know just how tenuous our position is, this growing difference between our various wings is a bigger threat to our rule than even the syndicalists who still fight for their dead revolution. With this being the case, Hobart has called for a clandestine meeting of the heads of all cliques who sided with us during the coup to hammer out our issues. The representatives of the Windsorite cliques have made their case quite simply. There is one legitimate government for these isles, and that is the king, and the king alone. While yes, the king may have been forced to flee Britain, he is still the sole figure who can unite these lands again. The leader of the non-aligned cliques, most notable among them, Hobart himself, fiercely disagree with the Windsorites wholeheartedly, denouncing them and not rejecting the concept of a monarchy. They simply wish to see Britain free from both syndicalists and Windsorites. As the arguments come to an end and voting begins, the future of Britain lies in the balance, and for this event here, we'll go with the decision that will not restore the Windsors to power in the British Isles, Britannia, and that will be done now. And the provisional government of Great Britain has been created, led by Percy Hobart, and at this point in our focus tree, we can start doing this part of it. Let's do death to this revolution, and that will take 7 days. We'll get into focus. I get an event from that anyway. And what's this say here? Consolidating power. The tyrannical. There's so many events. The tyrannical overreaches of the Maximists have been the final straw. Before Hobart had ordered the divisions loyal to him to overthrow them, the trade unionists who had been in power and hiding before the Maximists had seen Hobart's men besieging the Maximist officers and the execution of their officials, and so foolishly came out in crowds to celebrate the change of power, expecting it was to go back to them. Needless to say, once more, that London was bathed in the same red blood of syndicalism as the banners they had waved in naivety. thinking that Hobart would really give power back to those that had failed the same revolution they preached. Now those socialists who had survived those massacres against them are in hiding, undeniably bitter and shocked at how Hobart had cleansed the slate completely of them, despite them putting their trust in him that he had come along to their ideals. Yet it was not only the socialists who were thrown aside in shame, but also the exiled Windsors in Canada, who had expected Hobart to clear the way and welcome them home in open arms. They were promptly given a slap to the face when Hobart issued a decree barring them from returning to the Isles, for they had betrayed the British people when they had not only failed to stop the bloodshed between state and the people during the Revolution of 1925, but also ran away from the home Isles. Now Hobart is standing in a very precarious and dangerous situation, for socialists and those loyal to the Windsors are most assuredly plotting in their hiding. However, one way Hobart can bring about a new foundation for Britain would be to invite those who despise their love for Britain who had been exiled to Canada and thus can be accepted back home. And that is done now. From this event we'll now have a national spirit called, two national spirits. One's called Revolutionary Threat and the other is Resistance with the Armed Forces. With this event read, let's close it out. And now let's go back to the focus tree and start doing, let's see here, Hunt for Moseley. This will give us an event called, the Hunt for Moseley, and that will take 7 days. So now we're going to hunt down the Union of Britain's old ruler, so the old leader, Oswald Mosley. And what can we do in our focus tree? Let's start doing, what can we do? Concentrated industry to get that done. Non-aggression pact from the Commune of France. No, thank you. We don't need that. We're out of the Third International also. We're no longer even in a faction. We live on an island though, so it's not too bad though. We can't really get invaded by anyone at this point unless we want to cross the Atlantic and fight our huge navy. We still have that, even though we're no longer part of a faction, so things could be worse. In the Hunt for Moseley, today British police and army units finally tracked down the arch traitor Oswald Mosley. He had holed up with the last of his Maximists near Birmingham in an area overlooked by police. The building he had holed up in was rather unassuming, but as it was surrounded by a British Army regiment with a tank in support, it quickly became apparent that something was about to happen. As a man shouted at the building for Moseley to come out, there was the slightest glint of a rifle's scope in one of the windows. Before anybody could react, the crack of a rifle heralded the beginning of the Battle of Birmingham, as it's now called. British soldiers stormed through the bottom floor in a ferocious battle with local black shirts as the tank outside fired multiple rounds into the upper floors, blowing away huge sections of the facade. The outcome was never in doubt, however. When British soldiers finally reached Mosley's office, they found the door had been blown off when a tank shell blew through the window. They ran through to find the one-time Grand Protector of the Union of Britain on the ground, sobbing and grabbing the stump where his left leg once was. It was quickly located on the other side of the room. Moseley looked at the soldiers and demanded that they help him, so that he may face trial as a befitting British citizen. He was promptly shot dead by Private James Teton. I wonder if that's an actual person. Anyway, after reading the report submitted by the regiment, Hobart simply shrugged and crossed Moseley's name off of his list. One more enemy of the nation is gone. Looks like his ideal 1984 will never come to be. And that is the end of Oswald Mosley in this playthrough. We won't be seeing him anymore. He's dead. We got a very detailed event about the Battle of Birmingham regarding his demise. And now let's do this focus here, securing the government. This will take 7 days. And the revolutionary threat, national spirit, will change to lingering revolutionary threat. But that focus is done now. Let's do purge the armed forces. And we're really having to go through the entire political system in the military for Hobart to really consolidate his power over Britannia at this point. And once this purge is over, resistance within the armed forces will no longer be as bad. It will just be lingering, I guess. Purged armed forces is done. The oil question, what is this about? Whatever, revolutionary synthetic oil. And we have a new militia made, getting the army too. And let's keep getting more infantry divisions deployed and trained. Well, trained and deployed. And let's do the let's do the focus tree. Fate of the TUC. Okay then. That's going to be done shortly. All these focuses are 7 days long, so they're only a week long each. It just, I don't know. It's really, I don't know. It just keeps things rapidly moving. T.E. Lawrence, they swear allegiance to Hobart, and that is Lawrence of Arabia. I believe end of the TUC, the fall of Rome, has occurred. I guess the Austrians, yeah, the Austrians took Rome, didn't they? And the end of the TUC, the Trade Union Congress, still exists. It has lost the majority of its power and is a shell of its former self, since most of its members are in jail, dead, or in hiding. However, as previously said, it still limps on. Now, however, it is restrained to strictly dealing with the various unions that remain on the island. Hobart, however, there's so many howevers here, he feels that the body has outlived its usefulness. When the TUC tried to meet again today, its remaining members were met with British soldiers who had chained the doors of the meeting room shut. Where's this going? Oh no. They declared in no uncertain terms that the TUC was now an illegal organization and they had one chance to turn and leave. If they remained, they would be considered bad people. I can't say this. Well, threats to the government. I'll just say that. I can't say the other word because of YouTube, how YouTube works. And they were arrested on the spot. Well, if they didn't turn around, they'd be arrested on the spot. Anyway, on the spot. Anyway, once again, few delegates stuck around. I'm just in shock reading through this event. The sheer length that Hobart will go to just to hold on to his power and dominate Britain's political sphere, just internally. Most knew this was an action long in the making and simply went home to find a new job. The last vestige of syndicalist organization in England was dead, and the TUC, like Oswald Mosley, is at this point gone. It's over. It's dead. And let's do the last Italy standing. I mean, I guess the SRI technically survived. Let's do the focus, initial economic reforms. That focus will be done shortly, 7-day focus. And the Italian Federation at this point is a puppet of Austria, led by Julius IV. Wasn't he already the leader? I mean, I guess he lost power and he was just put back in power. Initial economic reforms is done. Now let's complete secured home countries, and that will remove the national spirit, lingering resistance within the armed forces. Research slot available. Let's now complete excavation 2, conscription crisis in Quebec. Interesting. And once we get done with this, we're going to now do return of the true exiles. This focus will be 28 days long, longer than what we've had before. And what does it say? With the state more or less secure, Hobart has extended an invitation for the exiles to return. However, he has attached an important, He has attached an important caveat. To come back, they must renounce the House of Windsor. Hobart has decided that the House of Windsor lost their mandate to rule the moment they left Britain to syndicalist vultures. As such, they and their supporters will be barred from the islands indefinitely. This provision was originally discouraged, as many of Hobart's advisors thought that few would take up the offer. They have been pleasantly surprised with the number of immigrants on the Entente. Hobart isn't, though. He knows as much as anybody that they are tired of war, tired of exile, and tired of politics. They just want to come home, Windsor or not. And we're going to get some exiles from Canada, I guess. Just people who aren't really, they don't really mind not having the Windsors in power over over Britain. More infantry divisions have been created, the Highland Infantry Division and the Glasgow Infantry Division. How many more? Let's start training more of them. New military factories are ready. Let's make some more artillery. We're still in a deficit there. Oh well. Great. The return of the true Britons. While the revolution has been put down with the fist of Hobart, we cannot remain without support for too long before our precarious situation is brought down by popular uprising. Of course, Hobart has already begun the process of accepting exiles back from Canada, particularly those who hold love for their isle and not any support for those Germans called the Windsors. Now there is a naturally expected some resistance to this, and many of those stubborn conservatives remain alongside the Windsor King. They remain in Canada. However, some political groups are willing to ditch the king and return home to join in the process of creating a new system. These two groups seeking to return home bring those moderate members of the Labour Party that went to Canada alongside the exiles under Clement Attlee. There is also, of course, the much more nationalistic Nordic following of Joyce and the accompanying Right Club under the head of Archibald Ramsay, who had converted to Catholicism in Canada due to his love and respect for the Pope's supporters. Now Hobart must decide which group he will allow to join him in rebuilding Britain into a new and proper image, an image without that of the Windsors in charge of it. And let's choose to work with the nationalist groups. That is the decision we're going to make here. And we'll get an event called Appeal to the Right. And in the focus tree, we can't do anything at this time. I'm not going to do anything for now. Let's get some unassigned divisions. Put in Army 1 though. That is done. Appeals to the Right. Okay, so now there's going to be an event about, firmly entrenching the newly arriving exiles is key to ensuring our foundations. Key to ensuring our foundations are not toppled by a dissatisfied populace, and so beginning to sway the majority of the British population to the newly arrived exiles' ideals is necessary. Thus, Hobart has given permission for massive rallies and government-endorsed spreading of the nationalist exiles' messages, paving the way for the population to be swayed over to a much more state-friendly mindset. Already, the nationalists have hopped onto this opportunity, with Joyce's followers already organizing rallies to hopefully sway the populace over to their newly introduced mindset, and also potentially to scare off opponents with the numbers of the nationalist attendees. All the while, Archibald Ramsay has been creating new clubs across various British regions to hopefully spread his Catholic ideals onto the more older and wealthier conservative attendees and any who might partake in such country clubs. Wow. All this cannot be denied to have a positive effect in entrenching a new British state, one without the risk of syndicalists or Windsors steering us astray. However, Hobart watches with a worried eye as all the new praise and popularity of the current situation is going towards Joyce's nationalists, with him, who had made it possible, increasingly losing public image in favor of the newly arrived nationalist. Bold strategy. Let's see if it pays off for Hobart. And yeah, so Hobart now has to deal with nationalists, maybe taking more prominence politically. That is something he will have to make sure that won't happen for his sake if he wants to stay in power. And what's this about? Joyce and Leese demand power, with the right and nationalists greatly empowered and emboldened. Following Hobart's decision to apply to them, the popularity of the previous obscure British far right has exploded. The leaders of this new movement in the New Britain are William Joyce and Arnold Leese. Although both men differ in some political aspects, their authoritarian leanings and anti-Semitism, oh no, have united them. With their power base united and growing, they have marched on London and demand to be handed the reins of power. We have been assured the army stands with us if we do strike them now, but some at the top have misgivings. Could Britain survive another revolution or even a civil war? Let's choose not to let them just take over. And now we'll get an offer from the Right Club, who I think may try to give us aid. Maybe. And in our focus tree, let's start doing improved infantry equipment 1, possibly. Yes, do that. Offer from the Right Club, more events. There's so many events. Hobart, there's a lot of lore going into everything going on here, isn't there? Hobart has unseated Mosley and his brood, saving Britain from Mosley's government, and has refused to bend the knee to the legionnaires to boot, that is, the people who have marched on London with, I guess, Joyce and Leese. Anyway, syndicalists across Britain are mobilizing to save their broken homeland, and the few remaining legionnaires have refused to go down without a fight. However, Hobart has found an unlikely and some say undesirable ally in the Right Club, formed by a cabal of right-wing and Catholic, former and current aristocracy. They have found a new home in the New Britain after suffering years of inglorious exile in Canada with the rest of the British government. Now, however, while Edward and his friends wine and dine in Ottawa, in Canada, the Right Club has come home and quickly become the poster child of the new British far right. While not as radical as some like Joyce and Leese, their traditionalist, aristocratic, and more importantly, Catholic leanings have turned many a common man away from them. And for some background here, if I recall at this point, Britain was very Protestant-oriented, Anglican Church, Church of England, all that stuff. That's the stage on which everything is set in regards to this Right Club historically. And anyway, they are a snapshot of Britain They are snapshot. They are a snapshot of the Britain the Union worked so hard to destroy. Ultimately, the Union failed, and with the death of the Union, the old regime's sympathizers have come out of the woodwork to give this new right wing a serious political voice. The club's words carry real weight that cannot be dismissed so easily. What should we do? And let's say we don't need their help. We're not going to get help from the right club. We don't need keep the Legionnaires from taking power as well as the right club. We need Hobart to just stay in his position. He will dominate all. That's what we need to happen. And we'll get an event. Hobart consolidates power. Okay. Percy Hobart has done what many assumed impossible, many assumed to be impossible, and came out on top of the post-syndicalist power struggle, facing a hostile populace, an unruly army, and an uncertain national foreign situation. Hobart has bested all the vultures circling him, and now has total control over the New Britain. This has worried some as speculations on Hobart's monarchist leanings continue to circulate. However, people close to him profess, from what they know of Hobart, his views have undergone a serious shift. The Hobart of 1919 is not the Hobart of now. He now has a burning hatred of the Windsors who fled England rather than faced revolutionaries. Indeed, they speculate that Hobart has come to despise monarchy as a whole. Instead, they guess that Hobart will instead keep power centralized in the military, the only institution left that can truly uphold Britain's values by his own words. Despite their professions, however, it is ultimately up to Hobart as to what he will do ultimately. And we have this say, death or glory. And now we have some new people in power in the government, I think. We have George Lloyd, Austen Chamberlain, who is the brother of Neville Chamberlain, I believe, and Walter Guinness, and Percy Hobart, who's the head of government. And now we have access to a new part of the focus tree, and in this we're going to do the Hobart regime. That will take 7 days. It's bypassed instantly. Let's do military propaganda. That will take 35 days. It will give us a lot of base war support, political power plus 50, and change in popularity of paternal autocracy. That ideology will go up in terms of how popular it is among the populace of the country. And we have some free dockyards. Put them all on. Maybe start building, well, work on those aircraft carriers, these Republic-class aircraft carriers. And military propaganda will be done relatively soon, I hope. We're going to do extended military budget after that. And we're going to do centralized governance too. And then we'll do elect a king. Oh my goodness. I sort of feel bad wanting to elect a king of Britain after that whole build-up of Hobart consolidating power. I mean, I learned his very interesting personality as a character in the Kaiser Redux world. That's all I can say. Free civilian factories. His motivations are very intriguing to say the least. And the North Caucasian Imamate declared war on the Georgian Socialist State. It's going on in the Caucasus region. And now let's build more military factories, mostly in central England. Yorkshire, London, well, West Anglia, Western Midlands, East Midlands, all those places. National focus. Let's do centralized governance to get a national spirit called weak control of the military. Free military factories, build more firearms. Or artillery, I don't know. Build more artillery as well as firearms. Now let's check in on that war in the Caucasus region. The Imamate's up here, and the Georgian Socialist State is down here. The Georgian Socialist State is led by Joseph Stalin, and the Imamate is led by Najmuddin Guitsnoitsky, whatever. Muslim state versus a socialist state, essentially. And that's what's happening in that part of the world. And Canada invoked the War Measures Act for some reason. They just chose to do that. Centralized governance will take about 35 days. War. What is it good for? Absolutely, in Hearts of Iron 4, everything. War is to answer to everything in Hearts of Iron 4. Who needs diplomacy? We can just annex an entire country. And now, engineering. Let's do computing machine. Get that started. Is that too far ahead? It is 1937. It may be too far ahead. And the Mysore state declared war on the Princely Federation, that is in the Indian subcontinent. Let's actually get started on interwar artillery instead of computing machine, because computers are too advanced for us right now. I mean, the computing machine is anyway. More militia are ready. Tamil Nadu declared war on the Princely Federation. I'm not sure if I've ever seen that country before, but they are here now. They're right here. Yeah, Tamil Nadu. This country here. Interesting. I mean, they're up against the Princely Federation, who is fighting how many countries at this point? Second American Civil War started. Let me check. Oh my goodness. Gotta get through all these events. Okay, so Prince of Federation's fighting against 3 countries. That's gonna be a hard war for them, probably. Centralized governance is done. Oh, let's elect a king now. Get that done, please. Elect the king. That will take 35 days. While Hobart has no real love of kings, after the Windsors fled with their tails between their legs, the very idea of a king in Britain remains a powerful symbol. He would be a visible and compelling figure to rally the nation around. Of course, he would have no real power, but his very presence would do much to legitimize the Hobart regime. To choose this new monarch, Lord Hall comes again. Okay. Lord... Is Julius Lord Hall? That was a German... What? Oh my goodness, I'm getting off topic. Anyway, we gotta elect a king. So let's do that. Get a king. Lord Hall was I believe, an English man who, in real life during World War II, worked as a propaganda speaker for the Germans. And he would broadcast his messages in English and whatnot. And he gained somewhat of a infamous reputation during the war. Well, among the Allies anyway. I'm sure the Germans loved him because he was useful for propaganda purposes. The Kingdom of Canada declared war on Panama and the Panama Canal crisis. Okay, there's the Costa Rica joined the Entente. Alright then, it's May 1937. But anyway, we're getting pretty close to electing the king, about 10 days left. And what was it I was saying before? Of course, he would have no real power, but his very presence would do much to legitimize the Hobart regime. To choose this new monarch, however, Hobart will hold an election. The Windsors, of course, will not be included, and any write-in votes for them will be discarded. They lost their right to rule when they fled instead of fighting to save the nation. Hobart will not give the nation back to them. So we'll have a different king that's not a Windsor, or the rebranded House of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha, which is the old name for the House of Windsor before World War I in real life. And a butt for a throne. So many choices here. Oh my goodness gracious. Hobart has no real love of kings. Watching George flee London like a rat fleeing a sinking ship soured him forever to the prospect. However, he recognizes the historical weight to the title King of England commands in the British psyche. Even still, some suggested they invite the King in Canada back, but Hobart has dismissed such suggestions out of hand. He gave up his throne the moment he left England to the syndicalist. In response, Hobart's aides have brought a list of nearly 30 names as suggestions for king. They range from Yasuhito of Japan to Kaiser Wilhelm. In the end, Hobart knows who he chooses. Doesn't really matter, as he will keep the power behind the throne, but still, the choice would have tremendous symbolic value, so it must not be taken lightly. And now we have an event here. Well, we have some... Okay, I gotta unpause. I need that political power badly. Don't do any focuses. I need the political power to be built up rapidly. And we have plenty of choices here. We have people ranging from Kaiser Wilhelm, the German Emperor, Prince Yasuhito of Japan, and those were ones listed in that event earlier. We also have the head of the Clan O'Neill, Irish, King of Denmark, King of Spain, House of Bonaparte, King of Romania, Amadeus of Italy, King of Sweden, heir of Bulgaria, King of Portugal, King of the Albanians, the Spanish Jacobite, the Prince of Liechtenstein, Bernard of the Netherlands, King of the Serbs, Pavlos of Greece, Pedro Henrique of Brazil, the Austrian Emperor, Queen Wilhelmina, she abdicated the Dutch throne. Never mind then. She's still available as a choice, though, if she wants to come out of retirement. Juliana of the Netherlands, Grand Duchess of Luxembourg, Edith Wilson, who I think she's related, let me check. She is related to, oh my goodness, never mind. I think she's related to Pocahontas. Like, seriously, she was like the wife of Woodrow Wilson, the President Woodrow Wilson. She is related, let me see here. Yeah, I think she is related to Pocahontas, historically speaking. But she is an option here. We have tons and tons of leadership options for kings and queens. Just monarchs in general for Hobart's Britain. And to be honest, I could probably just do 20 playthroughs on monarchs alone for Britain. And how we're doing with political power, we're going to have to get to 15 fast. Please, Bolivia declared war on Paraguay. We have more infantry divisions ready to go. No national focus set. I'm still gonna wait. I need to get a king in power. We gotta get the German Emperor here. Please, we need him here in Britain. He will be the King of Britain. which will be a very strange sight to see, but it will happen. It will take place shortly. We just need a few more days. A few more days. Come on. Come on. Just get over that line. Good. There we are. Elect the German Emperor. And there we are. We got a Kingdom of Britain. William V. Look at his hair. Wow. I don't know. They put something in his hair. That's all I can say. And we do have a new flag. I think it mixes in some of the coat of arms of the House Hohenzollern dynasty. Well, the ruling dynasty of Germany. And that is something else. So, German Empire, Kingdom of Britain, same ruler now. That's what it's like at this point. And we can join the Reichspakt even if we want to. A matter of flags. Keep the flag as it is. We could have changed the flag design, but I'm not going to do that. I'll just leave a custom flag, and I'm not going to give it up so easily. More militia are ready. Let's now do some... Okay, let's now join the Reichspakt. We have joined the Reichspakt. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, what would we do? Join the Entente as Wilhelm II here? And anyway, historically, William V, better known as Wilhelm II, he was, well, yeah, he's more popularly known as Wilhelm II. He was the German Emperor, or Kaiser of the German Empire, from 1888 until his abdication in 1918. He would prove to be the last man with such a title, as the empire came tumbling down after its defeat in World War I. And that's historically who William V, or Wilhelm II, was in real life. And he has the leader trait, the new monarch of Great Britain. And we're part of the Reichspakt now. That is so crazy. But at this point, we can join a fact. Oh, never mind. Let's do this then. In our focus tree, what can we do? What can we do? Let's do subordinate parliament. And I think ultimately down the line, once we get through this part of our focus tree, Tsardom is restored in Transamere. Join Middle Europa. Join it. Yes, just the deal. Join it. Tsardom is restored in Transamere. Okay. And once we get through this entire focus tree, we'll eventually try to rebuild the British Empire in some way, well, with a German monarch. I mean, to be fair, the British Empire was basically formed by a bunch of German monarchs anyway, all the Georges of the House of Hanover, then you had Victoria II, and Wilhelm II enters London. We got an event here. Wilhelm looked outside the window of his Junkers plane and scowled at the crowd. They were shouting obscenities, hurling insults as well as objects. What the world? I'm sorry, I can't contain my laughter here. This is just what the world. Few reached as far as the plane since the police kept them at a safe distance away. Yet while the projectiles fell, their words reached his ears unhindered. Wilhelm turned to his chancellor, who he brought with him. Why do we do this again? These people don't know civility from barbarity. They are still tainted by cynicalism, the Kaiser declared. We would have the power to deal with them, the Chancellor said, but the Kaiser waved him off. He wanted to spend a minimal amount of time here, and he felt the people wanted the same as him. When he left the plane, he was hurriedly taken to Westminster Abbey, where he was crowned in a short ceremony as William V. As he left, Wilhelm ran at Hobart, who glared at him. I don't want this just as much as you, but you need this if we are going to beat France. So suck it up and wipe that sneer off your face. Now get out of my country, Hobart said. Wilhelm opened his mouth as if he were to say something, but then for once in his life thought better of it. Instead, without another word, he got back on his plane and left London, never to return. And that's officially the coronation of William V. So he'll never return to England and to Britain. But he is technically the King of Britain for political purposes. We're going to help them fight. We're going to help the Reichspakt and the German Empire fight the French, the Commune of France anyway. I just cannot contain my laughter reading that event. That was just funny, in my opinion. And now we have some support equipment. We can start researching, get that done. That's support equipment 2, basically. Also start researching. Okay, we cannot get computing machine done yet. Let's get Hawker Hurricanes researched. That will work for me. And subordinate parliament will be done shortly, about 6 days. And to rebuild the British Empire, they will take us, we have to do all these other focuses here to get down to full political dominance. And I wonder what decisions we'll get when we try to rebuild the British Empire. I am curious. Will we go out to Ireland and India? Maybe we will, maybe we won't, I don't know. And what is going on here? Is there a war? There is a war. Ukraine is fighting the Don Republic and a Cuban People's Republic. I'm not sure why that's happening, but it is. And the Cuban People's Republic, I will say, is a puppet of the Don Republic, which is interesting to see. No national focus set. Let's start doing assess financial policy. That will take about 35 days. Okay then. And at this point, I think I'm going to end part 1 of my William V playthrough for the Union, for the Union of Britain and Kaiser Redux here. Part 1 of the playthrough is going to come to an end at this point. If you enjoyed the mod, you can check it out in the video description. The link to the mod is there. Once again, link to Kaiser Redux is in the video description. If you enjoyed the video itself, make sure to like and subscribe. Have an awesome day.